Hello, everybody, and welcome to this class in the course of the Art of the Sale. One of the things about this course is that we're going to be focusing a ton on converting leads into customers. And I wanted to start this by bringing in a good friend of mine, Daniel Dixon, to talk about something that you might not have expected to be in this course, because I think it's an important, people get so excited about conversion. And if we don't talk about how to get people to convert, how to get this pile of people that need to go from lead or interested into customer, I think we'd be doing you a major disservice. Plus, I know this guy who's an expert, so why wouldn't I do a class on this? So, Daniel, thanks for joining us today for this very important class to get us kicked off.
Hey, thanks for having me, Kurt. I appreciate it.
So, what I'm going to do is, Daniel, I've got some slides that I'm going to share to kind of kick off the context of the class, and then we're going to need your expertise to sort of fill in some of the blanks and to help me to get the class understanding and creative juices flowing for what it is that they could do to actually get this motor started. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to share with you just part of a presentation that I've shared before in other contexts, and that is that most people have a CRM. And if you don't have a CRM, you really should look into doing that as soon as possible. I've got some here. These are ones that ResponsiBid connects to. I think we actually connect to maybe one or two others. But either way, these are some of the most popular CRMs in the home service space. Customer Factor, House Call Pro, Jobber, Market, Service Monster. People ask me all the time, what's the best CRM? And I tell them, you would kind of need to know, like, what's better, an Android or an Apple phone? You need to know what's in that CRM and what it is that you're trying to accomplish in order to know if you like or want a CRM. But nothing is debatable when it comes to the fact that you need a place to organize your work. You need a place to organize your invoices. You need a place to organize your customers, your calendars. There's a lot of stuff that all goes into a CRM. And there's lots of people who are dying to help you get that done. And it's for what they do, they're just not that expensive. You got to have it. But here's the shortcoming of a CRM. You don't go out and buy a CRM and then automatically have it full of customers. And for people, if I dropped this class out of the course and all we did was just a course on selling people, I feel like it would almost leave out the most important part of filling your CRM full of customers. How do you do that? Well, the way you do it is you throw a funnel on top of your CRM and you start throwing all sorts of stuff into the top of it. I put 4 examples here. And one of those examples is, Facebook ads. Some of you might not run Facebook ads, but you might go into Facebook groups and start talking to people. Referrals, I think all of us that do good work, we probably have referrals, but maybe you don't have a referral program. And we could go around and we could do, talk about all 4 of these. But the thing is that it's not just 4 things. It's like 104 things that can go into the top of this funnel, finding people who are interested in the moment that they're interested, and then inferring that your business might be the one that solves their problem. So we're just going to call, for today's meeting, we're going to call that marketing. Marketing is just the efforts that you do to find these interested people and throw them into the funnel to see if they're a good fit. Now, if they come out the bottom of the funnel and they become a customer in your CRM and start booking work with you, then that's cool. The funnel is going to represent the sales process. And the course that we're going to be going through is going to be about the sales process. I just want to start at the beginning. I'm going to start with marketing. So, Daniel, with all of that said, I want to get into the concept of what is it that a home service business should be thinking about when they're trying to figure out what energy to put out, what to throw on the top of the funnel. I mean, then the other question is, how do I throw good contacts on top of the funnel? You can spend a lot of money on people who are bad contacts. So what are your thoughts? Let's kick us off on, actually, before you kick us off, I'm so sorry. I say Daniel's an expert. I think I mentioned the name SendJim. Maybe I should just spend one quick moment saying Daniel Dixon actually runs a marketing platform called SendJim that is designed 100% for helping home service businesses to throw as many people into the top of the funnel as possible, not just people you've never heard of, like outbound type stuff, but also churning your current customers into referrals and repeat business. Relationship marketing is, I think, the term that you guys use. So Daniel's no stranger to this. SendJim is a software product that he sells that automates a lot of this, but the guiding principles Daniel is intimately familiar with. And that's sort of why I feel like having Daniel here today will open up our eyes to probably some things that we never have thought of before. So Daniel, now with that out of the way, would you mind sort of kicking us off on what kinds of things people should be thinking about when they think of their funnel?
Yeah, absolutely. And appreciate the intro, Kurt. And I also want to say, for those of you who may not know Kurt or myself, some of you probably know us, but if you don't, both Kurt and I had home service businesses that we started from scratch and we grew and sold. So it isn't like we're just these software techie guys that don't understand what you're going through. And everything Kurt and I will say here will probably we'll make it sound like, oh yeah, it's just this checkbox and it's easy and just go do it. It couldn't be further from the truth. We know each one of these things is hard and takes thought and takes time and money in some cases and effort, and it's not easy. So if you guys feel like you watch this and think, man, this is hard, these guys have no idea how it actually is. We do know how it actually is, and we understand that it's difficult, but uh, all we can do is tell you, the work that needs to be done, and you can decide, what work that you want to do. But we do understand you, and we empathize with you. And yeah, Kurt, I think like marketing as a whole is a really difficult thing, right? Because like you said, there's like 104 things. It's such a broad term. And you could go as far as like, your branding and the type of shirts that you have, and you know like I think you had up there vehicle wraps. Like, what does your vehicles look like? Are they clean? Like the professional image you put out, like all of that can be considered marketing, down to like, the copy or the actual words that you're using on your ads, right? So it's such a broad thing, but I like to think of marketing in two ways. Well, I guess the first most important thing with marketing is that you market to the customers that you want, right? Like it's great to go out and market and get your name out there, but it doesn't help, like Kurt said, to fill your funnel with people that you don't want or need or that are going to be difficult. And so my biggest thing is that if you have a business today and you have a list of customers, hopefully in a CRM, the best thing you can do is to market to people who know, like, and trust you because they've already gotten a quote from you or already used you in the past, right? So I think as business owners, when we first start, or if you're first starting today, you don't have that luxury. And so you spend time and money becoming really good at acquiring a new lead or a new potential customer, filling that funnel from people who don't know you. And as we build our business, we have this list of customers, and we don't really switch gears to think about how can I utilize this really important, valuable asset that I've built, because we've built this muscle. Like we always go into the gym and do curls, right? So it's like, what do I do when I go to the gym? I do curls. I like curls. My biceps are strong. Like that's what I do. Right. And like acquiring customers is like that. And you started your business like that. Everyone did, because you started with no customers. So you've built this really strong muscle, your bicep, and that's all you know how to do. Right. And so like it's a really bad return on investment compared to marketing to people that already have bought from you. So it's extremely important, if you have a customer list, that you understand that asset is probably the most valuable asset in your business. When people go to buy a business, they're not like, hey, how many trucks do you have? What kind of equipment do you have? Like, yeah, they'll ask that. But the most important thing is, how big is your customer list? Are they people that are buying from you still? And so like when people buy businesses, they're realizing this is the most valuable asset. And typically business owners underutilize that. So that first thing is market to your existing customer list. And do you want to get into ways to do that, Kurt, or should we move on to other ways to fill the funnel?
I think that because we're going to be sharing so many different things, we
Mhm.
probably should just give, as you explain an example of something, let's give a few, I'm sorry, as you bring up a type of marketing, let's give a few examples of it. I think that if you're watching right now and you don't have a notebook and a pen, go ahead and pause it, go grab one real quick, because what's going to happen is that as Dana goes through these examples, it's going to spark things in your mind. I want you to be able to just jot down some thoughts about what you think you would like to attempt in your own market. And for those of you who are in that acquisition mode where you don't have customers to repeat, you're still going to need to file this away for later. Like this is something that you'll never be able to get out of because it is the absolute best kind of marketing. So Daniel, let's give it a few examples and then we'll go to the next topic.
Yeah, so that's great. And we'll get into, if you don't stop this course, if you feel like, oh, I'm in the customer acquisition phase, we can get into that too. But marketing to your existing customer list. So these people already know, like, and trust you. The ways to get them to buy more from you are to make them aware that you have additional services. Remind them if you have a repeat service. Even if you don't have a repeat service, just staying in front of them with offers, communication. They may move, right? You might be a roofer or you might be a painter, and you're like, well, they don't need me again for 10 years, but they may move. So letting them know you're still there, telling them if you offer new services or services that they haven't bought from you. I owned a carpet cleaning business a long time ago, and many people, our bread and butter service was carpet cleaning. That's obvious, but they didn't know that we cleaned wood floors. They didn't know that we cleaned upholstery, even though we had worked for them and they've gone to our website in the past. They were just looking to buy carpet cleaning. We served that need. And so we really needed to spend time marketing like, hey, did you also know we do these things? So making your other services aware to them. Those are some things that you can do to kind of market to your existing customer list. Tools for that. Obviously, my tool SendJim is phenomenal at that. And ResponsiBid really is a tool that automates that. If you have a CRM and don't have ResponsiBid, I highly recommend that. And we don't need to get into that today, but it can essentially automate all of this marketing to your existing customer list for you. So highly, highly important system to put in place in your business.
And it's basically free. I mean, even when you're paying for the tool ResponsiBid and SendJim, uh, Daniel already brought up it's the cheapest form of marketing. Raining, nurturing, dripping on, however you want to call it, all of those things are so free. I mean, you literally can have thousands and hundreds of touches. One thing that I laugh at is you say that, like telling people about services that you offer. You had a carpet cleaning business, so people thought you did carpet cleaning, didn't even think about their wood floor, didn't think about their upholstery. It's the same thing with ResponsiBid. A lot of people think that we're just the website quoting tool. And we're like, we're actually a holistic sales system for your sales reps, for your own, CSRs. And if you don't, like what I have learned is if you don't just keep telling people all the time that I do these other things, they just associate it with whatever they associate it with. And you don't get to even really control it. Like there's people who might think you're just upholstery cleaners. Like I have an upholstery problem. I did a search. I found a company for upholstery cleaning. They came out and did it. When they get their carpets cleaned, if you haven't like beat it into their heads that you're a carpet cleaner, they might go do another Google search to find a carpet cleaner in the area.
Funny story about that real quick, Kurt, is that we showed up for a carpet cleaning job one time, and there was a grout cleaning company there. And we asked the customer, she was a great customer of ours. She used us regularly. And we said, hey, did you know we did this too? No, I had no idea I would have used you. And it's like, oh my gosh, like that was my work right there. This guy, other person's doing, right? So it's a perfect example. And the way we automated this, I used ResponsiBid in my business, and we would follow up with a customer, not only reminding them, hey, it's time for your cleaning, but in between those drip messages, it's also a follow-up message saying, hey, did you know we also offer these services?
Yeah.
Right. And they might not read that first email, but if you tell them 5, 6, 7 times, like eventually they're going to think, oh, yeah, they also provide that.
Yeah. Okay, so for those of you taking notes, we've talked about several ways to drip on your customers and make sure that you're maximizing those. So Daniel, let's branch out a little further. Where else do we want to go?
Yeah, so the next best thing, in my opinion, is getting those customers to actually market for you. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's real easy, Daniel. How do you do that? One of the most powerful things that I do in one of the home service businesses that I own today is that we collect reviews, which, again, if you have a CRM, you really should have a review management capture platform. And what those reviews can do is provide social proof for your business to market to prospective customers searching, right? So let's say my competitor has 15 Google reviews and I have 300. people don't see this as a form of marketing, but when they're going to Google and looking at services, I'm really looking for the people with the most reviews that are 5 star, and those are on my reach out list, right? So like unless you're getting enough reviews, you're not even going to be considered. And so capturing reviews is a form of marketing. And the reason I even brought that up, because it's kind of like on the outskirts of marketing, you're like, okay, Daniel, this is like a little far fetched for me. But what we do is when someone leaves us a review, we then reach out to them. They might leave us a review on Facebook or Google, but we'll reach out to them and we'll say, hey, Mrs. Smith, thank you so much for the review. That means so much to us. It would be insanely helpful if you could just copy and paste that review that you left on Google into your neighborhood Facebook group or your neighborhood next door group. And that is actually like the single most valuable thing that we can do, because I have a concrete coatings business today with my brother. And when we have our team do this and we get a post inside of a neighborhood, on average, we get like 1.5 new jobs from that, because it doesn't look like, oh, this person just left a Google review. It's like, no, this person went out of their way. Mrs. Smith wrote, hey, I just used my garage floor guys. They were an incredible company, blah, blah, blah. And like, I just want my neighbors to know, right? Like, it's that powerful. And
Yeah.
anyone in the neighborhood that's looking for that service, I guarantee you, you will be one of the quotes. You know, you'll have to go through the sales process that Kurt will teach later in the course, but you're gonna fill the funnel with the quote, right? Like people are gonna, they'd be stupid not to use you.
Well, I mean, everyone knows they need reviews. Reputation marketing, like I don't even know if you can survive on Google without reviews nowadays. Like you're not really going to get considered. I don't think Google's going to put you towards the top either. Like there's a lot of bad things about not getting reviews. So I think it is important that we talk about that. But that ninja move right there, because you get notified every time there's a review.
Yes.
Um, hey, Mrs. Jones, thanks for leaving us that Google review. You know, I hate to ask another favor of you, but that was so awesome. Are you a member of any neighborhood community Facebook groups or whatever you could post that into? I mean the world to me. Um, and if you have a referral program, that would be another time you could just share the referral program with them. That ninja move could, I mean, you said 1.5 jobs out of that. Man, it feels like it will just the gift that just keeps on giving.
Yeah, and that's a good point too, Kurt. Like our average ticket for that job is $4,200, right? But if you're a window cleaner, pressure washer, driveway, I mean, you could get 5, 6, 7 jobs depending on the size of the neighborhood, right? It's
Yeah.
super simple, and so you're getting your neighbors to say something about you that is very powerful. We also then use SendJim. I'll plug my own company here to follow up. So if Miss Smith does that, we'll send her a box of brownies and a nice card saying, hey, Miss Smith, thanks so much for doing that. It means the world to us. You can also do this if you're like, oh, that's too expensive. We can do this with a handwritten card. So there's different ways to utilize SendJim and ResponsiBid to get your customers to market for you as well. Again, the most powerful form of marketing, because it's not me out there saying, I'm the best, everyone should use me. Of course, everyone says that about their own company. When someone else is saying it about your company, like that's powerful marketing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And when he said handwritten card, I do want to make sure you guys understand. If you're at the phase of your business where taking time to write a handwritten card is still fitting in your schedule fine, that is a powerful, powerful tool. If you're at the phase of business where you are dropping balls, like it's hard to keep everything and like you can't even fathom taking time to write a handwritten card, what Daniel's referring to is literally automating handwritten cards, robots with pens in their hand writing thank you cards that are in your automation sequence for your referral program. So if that sounds interesting to you, you would want to check out SendJim because it really is a game changer. So Daniel, we've talked about the importance of reviews and then stacking those reviews in a way where it doesn't come from you and it's being pushed out into other channels. Um, okay, so we talked about using our customers to get more work out of those customers, using our customers to get new customers out of those customers with reviews. What else? What else would you recommend someone look at? I mean, so far everything is so like grassroots.
Yes. And like I think I'll want to continue down that path as much as possible, right? Because actually, even though my tool works on new customer acquisition, it's the most expensive way to acquire customers. So you or to fill your funnel, right? You don't want to go out and have to convince somebody that doesn't know you from five other companies, doesn't know your brands, never seen you, to convince them to use you or to find you and fill out a lead form. That's the most difficult way to operate. So that's the worst case scenario, right? Like everyone has to do it, but as far as we can go down this path of like grassroots marketing or leveraging what you've already done or built is the best. So the next step down that path, in my opinion, is marketing to the neighbors of your customers, right? So if I have a window cleaning business and I go clean the windows at your house, Kurt, I assume that your neighbors have a similar type of house, they have a similar income, they have the similar needs, right? And that if they see me at Kurt's house, they know, hey, I also need a window cleaner potentially. And if Kurt hired them, like they're probably a good company. I'm going to ask Kurt if I know him, like, hey, do you recommend them? How do they do? Even if I don't know Kurt, I'm thinking, hey, if my neighbor did the research, like that's one of the companies I'm going to use to get a quote from. Maybe the only company, right? So again, leveraging where you're already working, leveraging your customers. They're not saying anything about you yet, but their neighbors are already have this perception in their head that that's probably a company I want to look at if I need that service. So let's market to those neighbors. You're like, well, how do you do that, Daniel? Like that's difficult, right? So five arounds, if you haven't heard that term, it's or clover leafing or neighbor mailing. It's essentially this concept of if I work at Kurt's house, I'm going to take a door hanger or a flyer and I'm going to put it on the doorstep or the door of every home around Kurt's. Might be 5 homes, 10 homes, however much you have time for. But this idea that they're a similar demographic, have similar needs, and they may have seen you at Kurt's house, we're going to leverage that to say, hey, everyone around here might want to use me. So I'm going to make it really easy, right? Like, here's an offer. I just worked at your neighbor's house. You know, they love us. You'll love us too. Here's an offer. Here's something, to contact us if you need that work. So there's the manual way to do it, right? And if you're new in business, do 20 houses around Kurt's and you can walk around and do this. No problem.
And
SendJim, one of the
I was
tools.
gonna say, before you get into the SendJim one, because the SendJim one is mind blowing and everyone loves it. But I just want to say something. Daniel talked about how you can make assumptions about customers, about neighbors based on the demographic and where they live. Let's just quickly, I just want to make sure before we talk about automating this process, if you are a customer and you put yourself in the customer's shoes, do they want to get 5 quotes to clean their windows or to pressure wash their house or clean their roof? Does that sound fun to them? No, not really. Why do customers do that? Well, number one, because a lot of people are flakes. I need to shoot 5 shots just to get one person to reply to me, right? The second thing is that they know that people will say we don't service that area or we don't have capacity right now. If you're in the neighborhood, it checks a bunch of those mental boxes to go, I might be able to get this done with less effort, and if so-and-so, Daniel used that if so-and-so did it in their research, they were good. It says something to the effect that obviously their pricing must be pretty reasonable if so-and-so used them, because they just start to buy in on certain aspects of you. Things that go back to the last point, things that you as a company will say, we do great work for a reasonable price. A customer simply using you says, I guess they do great work. They must be at a reasonable price. And it's an assumption as opposed to like having to peel the onion apart to figure it out. So, Dana, I just want to kind of mention that's why Cloverleaf, 5 rounds, 10 rounds, whatever people are doing, the reason they're so effective is because it answers questions before they've even been asked. So, okay. So you were getting ready to say how there's the manual way of doing it. And then once again, I kind of paint the picture of the person who's like, I've already got on 10 hats. I can't stop after every job and do 10 of these. Well, when you don't have any work, you'll wish you had, but I get it. I still get what you're doing. So then what, Daniel?
Yeah, so then this can be automated as well by if you're using a CRM, if you're using a tool like ResponsiBid and you have SendJim in your portfolio of tools, SendJim enables your CRM or ResponsiBid to trigger what we call a neighbor mailing. And SendJim can automatically enter a postcard or enter a neighbor or Kurt's neighbors in this scenario into a postcard drip sequence. And when we talk about drip, it's sending them something, whether that's an email, a postcard, etc., over multiple times over a period of time. So, for example, in my business, when we complete a job, we send the 5 closest neighbors a series of 3 postcards over 6 months, right? So we're going to stay in front of them for 6 months. The chance of them needing window cleaning over the next 6 months may be pretty good if, you know, if this is a high income area, etc. These people clean their windows once a year. Maybe if you're like, oh, the chances are better over a year. Okay, let's send 4 cards over the course of 12 months. But all of that can be automated, so you don't have to go and manually hang things on the doors. So if you're out of time, we can do that. Plus, we stay in front of them over a long period of time instead of just that one day. So
Yeah.
it's really important. And in fact, I'd encourage you to not only do it manually, but also do it over the course of time, because staying in front of them over the course of time is really important. Because Kurt's neighbors may have just had a window cleaning and they're like, man, that company wasn't that good. Next time I want to use someone different. But if you hang that door hanger right now, they're not interested right now. They just had their windows cleaned. But are they going to be interested sometime over the next 6 months or the next 12 months? Yes. Right. So like it's important to stay in front of them over the course of time. So
You
that's a
know,
really
Daniel, that's a really confusing point for people though, because sometimes we'll do a marketing effort or something that we term as a marketing effort, and people bite right away. And so it's really easy to conflate the idea that sometimes people bite right away, that marketing is something that you can do, and people will hang on to the door hanger, or they'll immediately call off of the door hanger, when in fact that's really not how marketing works. Um, in my experience, the marketing that works instantaneously is when you're like a Google search, they're searching right now to have something done, and you popped up and they were interested and you were there and they made a phone call and they did business with you. And every once in a while, just the law of statistics will say that a door hanger is going to get on the door of someone who's like already kind of maybe already thinking about it or whatever. So you're going to start conflating, oh, look, this can work instantaneously. But in 90, we'll just say 90% of the time, you know, I think 9 out of 10 is fair. Most times marketing lands, it wasn't a thought. It wasn't something that someone was interested in right then, right now. So it gets really hard to send something and time it so that at that 10% of the time that you're in front of them. So what you're talking about right now, Daniel, of staying in front of someone is, number one, get in front of them often enough that you might hit them at the time that they're ready to go. But number two, start to build a little bit of weight amongst the people that you want to have weight with, so that there's some stickiness going on. And that only comes with multiple touches.
yes. Yes, there's all kinds of marketing research out there. You can Google it, but they say, 5 to 9, depending on the industry. 5 people need to see your company 5 to 9 times before they recognize you and they're, want to use you type of thing, right? To put it in layman's terms. So I think that it's really important to what Kurt's saying is you want to stay in front of them over a long period of time, and you can't just judge, you don't run Google ads for 1 week and say it doesn't work. You don't have your website up for 10 days and say, well, no one filled out a form on my website. Like I shouldn't have a website. No, it's a much longer game. Same thing with wrapping your truck or wearing uniforms, right? Like, can I say that someone saw my truck, the first month I wrapped it and called me because of it? No, but do I know that in the end, this marketing tactic works because thousands of companies do this and spend money on it? Yes. Right. And like, let's not reinvent the wheel. Let's do things that we know work for service businesses, throughout the country and probably the world.
When I first started my window cleaning company, I would put a flyer with a business card magnet in the doors. And, sometimes I would get calls. Like if I spent, I think the math of it was 5 hours of knocking or flyering would typically result in about 5 phone calls, and basically 3 jobs is essentially what I was able to get. So 5 hours of work would get me 3 jobs. What was cool about that though is that the magnetic business card, people would hold on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I'd hear from someone in a neighborhood that we hadn't flyered for a year or two. They would call and say, I've got your magnet here. I'm ready to do business with you. And, sometimes it was only 6 months. But my point is that there's a staying power and there's an immediacy. And they're both important. In fact, they both work together. They almost lean against each other like, they brace each other up. So yeah, it's a really critical point.
Yeah, we actually sent a large mailing for a customer with a unique call tracking number just on one of the mailings. I think it's going on 2 years now, and we still follow that call tracking number and we still get calls off of it. Those postcards were gone 2 years ago, but there's going to be a percentage of people that hold on to the card that, hey, when my contract's up, this was pest control. So when my contract's up next season, I'm going to use them or I'm going to call them or whatever else, right? So it isn't immediate, but it does have that staying power, especially with something physical, right? Email is super easy to get lost,
Oh yeah.
especially strong email filters today. Should you not do email? No, absolutely you should do email. But it's a combination of all these things like Kurt had in that beginning slide of all those arrows in the funnel. The more arrows you have going in that funnel, the better, right? Because this one might only produce one, and this one might produce two, and this one might produce, one every 2 months. But if you have enough of those arrows, it can become meaningful over a long period of time.
All right. Well, with the time that we have left, can you share one more idea on maybe one more arrow we could point into someone's funnel just to give maybe one more creative idea to people?
Yeah, so I'm gonna real quickly add on to the last one, yard signs. If you aren't doing yard signs, another way to market to the neighbors. And then when you go into like, hey, I'm doing all these things, new customer acquisition. Okay. And so if you're someone that's, hey, I'm more advanced in my business, I'm doing pay-per-click, I'm doing Google Ads, I'm doing social media marketing. I just need to add more leads and I'm already doing all these other things. Direct mail, people think it's an old school marketing method. It doesn't work anymore. It couldn't be further from the truth because we're so inundated with digital ads now and notifications on our phone and email. Print marketing has when digital marketing came out, print marketing kind of went like this on effectiveness, and now it's going way up like this. Young people are buying off print more than ever before, and it has the staying power. They keep the cards. And so I'd encourage you to look at things like Every Door Direct Mail. It's a tool offered by the US Post Office. It's really difficult to follow. There's a lot of regulations, etc. But there's companies out there like SendJim or other companies that can help you automate direct mail, make it super easy for you. And I encourage you to look at that. There's not a lot of people in the mailbox because it's expensive. So it's a really good way to stand out. If you go to Google and Google, window cleaning, you're going to have probably 15 companies in your market doing Google ads. And then you're going to have the front page of people that spend a bunch of money on SEO. If you go get in their mailbox, I can almost guarantee you'll be the only window cleaner that month to send a postcard. So you're looking to stand out, you have a professional brand, you're doing these other things, but you need more leads. Direct mail can be extremely powerful. And if you're interested in something like that, I encourage you to look up my company, SendJim, and just chat with us. There's no obligation, but at least look at the opportunities that are out there.
Yeah. So, okay, just to summarize, I know that we've referenced a lot of things that we didn't actually talk about, like Google Ads and SEO. I mean, I think that the reason that we're bringing those up is because those are the ones that everyone seems to be talking about. If you go to any Facebook group, you can take advice from all the people in the Facebook group, and they can all tell you what works in their market and what won't work for you. And everyone's happy to tell you what will and won't work for you. The problem is they don't have to deal with the ramifications of whether it works or not for your business. So what I think from a professional perspective, I just want to endorse what Daniel said, which is you have to have what's called a marketing mix. You need to have physical, digital. He brought up email marketing, text message marketing is a thing. There's a lot of compliance around it. You got to make sure you're doing it right. And boy, has that actually email marketing is really amped up too, like a lot of the compliance around it just to get deliverability. But if you're doing all the things digitally and physically that you can afford or start thinking about and you're budgeting for, Daniel, can you give an idea of what a healthy company should be taking a percentage of revenue? Like if someone has, say, maybe they're at the $10,000 month or the $20,000 month, what percentage of revenue would you say people should just be throwing into their marketing mix?
10% is a really good benchmark. It just depends on your goals, right? If you are a bigger company and you want to grow, and you're already getting enough income from the business to where I don't need this money, I've seen people spend much higher than 10% because they're just reinvesting, and they know if they grow their customer list, their business is worth more, right? There's people at the beginning that don't have the 10%, and they do a lot of grassroots stuff, handing out flyers, etc. But 10% is a really good benchmark. If you're way below that, you probably aren't doing enough. If you're way above that, you're probably trying to grow a monster, right? Like,
Mhm.
but you should be around that number.
So as you sit here and think about your marketing mix and what you're going to spend, there's things that are really cheap, like flyers. You're starting out, you don't have any time, all you have is time. You start banging doors, throwing flyers out, getting them out there. But here's what I would say is that if you're taking 10% and throwing it into a special account or envelope or however you do your budgeting, there'll be certain months of the year that you're going to have so much swagger that you're going to be like, I don't need any marketing budget at all. In fact, I know people have been in business 25 years. They can't figure out why they're doing the same amount they have all 25 years, but they're like, I've never needed a market. Well, okay. I mean, people who say that typically have a crew or two and they just grow painfully slow. And it's because when they first started, they were super hungry and they did some marketing, they got people, and then they just never invested in it again. What I'm telling you, and I think what Daniel's telling you to do is when you're busy, take that 10% out, set it aside. There will be a time to strike while the iron's hot, and that money needs to be available for your EDDM, every door direct mail, Daniel's talking about. Buying the 5-round flyers, getting your money ready for any automations that you want to run in terms of automated 5-rounds or radius bombs or whatever it is that you're doing, because you simply setting that money aside will make it so that while you have swagger, you can have the swagger. Maybe right now you couldn't take on any more work, but I promise you, in the business that we're in, there will be a time where you're like, I wish I had more. Another one that's important to realize is that if you're in an area that's very snowy and you shut down in the winter, that's cool. Plan for it. That's great. Save that marketing money when you don't need to spend it. And right as the snow is getting ready to melt, dump that money. Spend it on whatever it is, the marketing mix. Get your Google ads up and running. Get your mailers out. Do the different things that Daniel's talked about as far as getting that funnel ready, because it really is a recipe. Money just is one of those ingredients. It's a tool, and you need to have that tool available when it's time to spend it. So going back to what Daniel said, you need to have the money to pull the lever, but you also need to know that I'm not investing in one form of advertising. And I think your referral program is just as strong a form of advertising as any. So, when spring starts getting out there, is it at another time where you could reach out to it's free advertising. Could you go out to the customers who gave you a great review last year and say, hey, I was just reading through my reviews. I saw the review you left for us last year. Would you mind, as it's getting ready to turn weather, would you mind posting that again in one of your groups or something? There's so many things you can do, and Daniel has shared so many gems. You guys can crush this. You can fill your funnel. It's amazing.
Another one that's another ninja trick. I'm gonna give one more ninja trick. But if you
Okay.
have a business where you're like shut down in the winter or there's a really slow period, go out and like do free inspections, right? You can schedule inspection, or if you're like an exterior company, you can probably just go out and take a look from the sidewalk and say, and then send them, right? Like as you get busy, as the time the snow melts, etc. Hey, Mrs. Smith, we did it for all of our best customers. We went by their house and just did a brief inspection. We noticed like you really could use this roof cleaning and looks like you might want to get on our window schedule. Here's an offer for you. Here's some times that we're available, right? Like the people that buy that type of service, they have income because they work hard and they don't have a lot of free time, right? So they're looking for the easiest way to do this, and like that's like guaranteed money. And Kurt brought up something else. Man, Kurt, sorry, I could just go forever on this.
I
He
know.
brought
It's
up
good.
timing. He brought up timing. Like a lot of people, their tendency is like, oh man, I'm slowing down. Like now's the time to market. Oh, it's snow, like my slow season, no one's buying. I need to market to get jobs. That's the opposite actually of what's true. People aren't buying, so your marketing is not going to get a good return on investment. If you want to get a good return on your marketing dollars, you want to market when people are about to buy or they are buying, because people are going to act on those offers or those flyers, whatever you're doing, in a much higher rate. So that's the time to market.
Yeah. And for some people, that's gonna be when the pollen falls. When other people, it's gonna be when the snow melts. For other people, like in Arizona, it's when the monsoons are over or when the holidays are about to start. If you've been in business long enough to be able to track your cycles, it's as simple as going into your QuickBooks and just seeing, or your calendar, just go look at the calendar and see when things were really densely booked. You want to be hitting a week or two ahead of that and really know earlier. And then while things are hot, have stuff firing off, make that ROI.
One more thing too that we didn't get into, Kurt, but if you feel like you're listening to this and they're like, and you think Kurt and Daniel are crazy, there's no money to do that, 10%, that's a lot. Like if you're having those feelings, I don't know, you need to probably talk to your bookkeeper, but I have a really strong suspicion you're not charging enough. All right. So like if you feel like you don't have the 10% or you're just starting and there's no way you could budget that, you probably need to think about charging more. I'll leave that at there because that's a whole nother discussion. But
Mhm.
that's something, if you have that feeling, that you probably need to start looking into.
Well, I couldn't agree more. And we're going to talk about that more in the upcoming classes about how to make sure you can charge more. One of the things that we're going to start right off with is sort of facing your demons of maybe you have some self-limiting beliefs in terms of the way that you view salespeople. And so, and I know I started off with those very much so. But we're going to be talking about value creation in the upcoming classes. We're going to talk about how you can help your customers to see the value that you create and understand why you're worth more. And you're going to learn how to put things forward, not just in your sales process, but also in your marketing, so that people can understand why you're unique and why you are the one that they can't live without. So Daniel, thank you so much for helping us to talk about how to get people into the funnel. After this class, we're going to move right into how to start taking people who are in that funnel and start converting them into high-paying customers, high repeat customers, and understanding why they don't need 10 more quotes. And it's going to be exciting. So buckle up and let's get started. I'll see you in the next class.
Thanks, Kurt.
Thanks, Daniel.